The sun beat down hard on the concrete of Oshodi's bustling streets. Horns blared, hawkers shouted prices over each other. The air smelled of exhaust fumes, fried plantains, and survival. It was a typical afternoon in Lagos, chaotic, loud, alive, but for Ina, the day carried a strange tension. With a half-empty crate of bottled water strapped to his back, he weaved through the crowd, dodging shoulders, umbrellas, and the occasional angry conductor yelling from the door of a damn bus. His sandals slapped the pavement. His stomach rumbled, but he ignored it. One more bottle, he told himself. Just one more, and he could afford a plate of rice. Maybe two if Mama Binta at the buka was feeling generous. He adjusted the strap on his shoulder and glanced at the sky. Clouds gathered thick, grey, angry. Rain was coming, and then the world cracked open. The sound hit first, tires screeching, then metal crunching, then a scream, the kind that cuts into your bones. Ina dropped his crate. People around him turned. A black SUV spun into view, its rear crushed by a yellow taxi that had barreled into it. The SUV swerved off the road, bounced over the curb, and crashed against a street pole, jolting to a stop beside a row of fruit stalls. Oranges rolled across the pavement. People screamed and scattered. "Ah, see accident," someone yelled. "Driver, don't kill person," but no one got close. Ina's breath caught in his throat. He stepped forward, scanning the scene. That's when he saw her. A pregnant woman, very pregnantly crumpled beside the SUV, half on the road, half on the curb. Her green gown was torn, her skin scraped. One arm bent in a way that looked wrong. There was blood on her elbow. Her eyes were shut. Her belly rose like a hill, motionless. His heart pounded. His legs locked in place. Behind him, the crowd swelled, murmuring, "Chai, she fit down die. Don't touch her. Oh, police go, carry you. Make we wait. If you touch you fit enter wahala." He remembered. Just last year, a man was arrested for trying to help someone in a crash. Rumors said the police assumed he caused it. Still, Ina couldn't look away. Her lips were cracked. Her belly heaved ever so slightly. Then he heard it. His mother's voice. "If someone is in pain, and you can help, you must, even if it costs you." He moved. "Hey boy, where you dey go?" A fruit seller shouted. "Nah, wahala, you dey find." He ignored them all. Kneeling beside the woman, he hovered his hand near her cheek. Cold, her chest barely moved. "Auntie," he whispered. "Can you hear me?" Nothing, just hands trembled. He pulled his last bottle of water from his pocket and twisted the cap. Carefully, he poured a small stream into her mouth. It dribbled out at first. He tilted her head slightly, then a twitch. Her fingers curled faintly. A small cough. Ina leaned in. "Please, try, breathe." Her eyes fluttered open. Her lips moved, dry and broken. One word. "Phone, sweetheart." Ina looked around. A small black purse hung from her shoulder. He grabbed it and opened it fast. Fancy iPhone, locked. But as he held it up to her face, the screen unlocked with Face ID. Contacts. He scrolled until he saw it. "Sweetheart," he tapped. One ring. Two. "Who is this?" A deep male voice barked. "Please sir, your wife's hurt. There's been an accident. She told me to call you. She's pregnant. Where are you?" "Oshodi Expressway, near the flyover." "Stay there. I'm coming now." The call cut. Ina looked at her again. Her hand reached weakly toward his. He grabbed it. "He's coming, Ma. Just hold on." She blinked slowly. Minutes passed like hours. People still watched, murmuring, but nobody came forward. Some filmed, others whispered, then dash sirens. A black convoy screeched to a stop. SUVs, tinted windows. Men in dark suits and sunglasses leaped out, forming a perimeter. Behind them, an ambulance parked sharply. Doors flew open. The man who emerged from the first SUV was tall, broad-shouldered, sharply dressed. He had the look of someone who controlled everything he walked into. His eyes scanned fast until they landed on the woman on the ground. "Adana," he shouted, rushing forward. Ina stepped back instinctively. The man dropped beside her, took her face in his hands. She blinked slowly and pointed toward Ina. "Helped me," she whispered. The man turned. He looked at the boy in torn sandals, holding an empty bottle, dust on his clothes, and fear in his eyes. "You came with her?" he asked, not harshly, just firmly. "Yes, sir, you're coming with us." Ina didn't argue. He couldn't. As the medics lifted Adana onto a stretcher, she reached for his hand again. He held it tight. Inside the ambulance, Chaos ignited. She's fully dilated. A nurse shouted, "We may not reach the delivery room." Another nurse looked at Ina. "You need to stay calm. She trusts you." Adana gripped his wrist hard, her breath ragged. "Don't leave me," she gasped. "I won't," he said. His own voice cracked. The ambulance shot forward. Sirens howled. The ride blurred into flashing lights, shouted medical orders, and waves of fear. Ina held her hand, whispering encouragement. He barely believed himself. They arrived at a private hospital. As the doors flew open, a team in light blue scrubs rushed in. Ina moved with them until a nurse blocked him. "You shouldn't. She told me not to leave." The nurse paused, then nodded. "Wait here." The doors closed behind her. He sat on the bench outside, elbows on his knees, breathing fast. It felt like a dream, a violent, strange dream. From orphaned street hawker to ambulance companion of a rich woman. How 30 minutes later, the door opened. A nurse stepped out, wide-eyed. She smiled. "She's okay," she said, and she had twins, 2 healthy girls. Ina stared. "Twins? Yes, they're beautiful. She's asking for you." He followed the nurse into the room slowly. The first thing he saw was Aiden, exhausted, pale, but alive, cradling 2 pink-wrapped infants. Her voice was a whisper. "You stayed." "Yes, ma. I named them Ellie and Eleliana," she said. "Because of you, they're here." Then a new voice entered, firm, but softened by emotion. "Obina, right." Jonathan E. stood at the foot of the bed, looking at the boy. "Yes, sir." Jonathan stepped forward and extended a hand. "I owe you everything." Ina hesitated, then shook it. His fingers were rough. Jonathan didn't flinch. "You don't know who we are," he said, "but that doesn't matter. What matters is what you did. You didn't run. You helped." Ina swallowed. "I just did what my mother taught me." Jonathan nodded. "Your mother raised a good man." He looked at his wife. She nodded once. Jonathan turned back. "Come with us, Obina. Stay. Let us take care of you." Ina blinked. His throat tightened. "I don't deserve." "Yes," Adana interrupted. "You do." And just like that, without realizing it, Ina had crossed a line. No, one saw, from the boy the world ignored, to someone who would never be invisible again. The hospital walls smelled like antiseptic and urgency. Nurses swept past in scrubs, murmuring codes and instructions. Machines beeped rhythmically from down long white hallways. The chaos was contained, but it never really stopped. Ina sat on a bench just outside the delivery room, legs trembling. His shirt was still damp with sweat and dust. Blood had bloodstained his sleeve, where he'd cradled her head. He couldn't stop staring at his hands. He had touched life, or maybe death, or maybe both. The door to the delivery room remained shut. He could hear shouts, commands, a baby's cry. Then another twin cries. His chest tightened. A nurse finally emerged, smiling in disbelief. "She's okay," she said, eyes soft. "And so are the babies. Girls, 2 of them." Ina's eyes widened. "2," she nodded. "They're asking for you." He followed her in a trance. Inside, the world looked softer. The harshness of Lagos was gone. This room smelled of warmth and clean linen and new beginnings. Adana lay propped against white pillows, her face flushed, hair stuck to her forehead, but her eyes shone. In her arms, nestled in blankets pink as rose petals, were the babies, so small, so perfect. "You came," she whispered, barely louder than the wind. "I said I would," Ina said. His voice cracked. She smiled. "Come closer." He did. "This one is Ellie," she said, pointing to the twin on the left. "And this is Eliliana." "They look like you," Ina murmured. "They look like hope," Adana replied. "They wouldn't be here without you." Behind them, Jonathan stood silent, his arms crossed, jaw clenched out from anger, but from something deeper. "Oh, maybe." When he spoke, his voice was low. "You stayed with her. In the street, you could have walked away." Ina didn't answer. "I've built companies," Jonathan continued. "I've employed thousands, but I've never seen what I saw today." He stepped forward. "That kind of courage doesn't come from comfort. It comes from pain, from hunger, from loss, from love." Ina looked down, embarrassed. "I'm not trying to impress you," Jonathan said. "I'm trying to thank you properly. Come with us, Obina. Stay. Not for a night, for real." Ina's breath caught. I don't even know how to live in a house like yours." Adana looked up from the babies. "Then we'll show you." The next morning, Ina woke up in a bed that felt like a cloud. For a moment, he panicked. He was used to waking under wooden tables in the market, cold and stiff, with rats scrambling underfoot. But here there was air conditioning, a wardrobe, a full-length mirror, a toothbrush, towels, new slippers, a shirt folded neatly on the chair. The door creaked open. Musa, the butler, entered with a tray. "Good morning, sir," he said with a small bow. Ina sat up awkwardly. "Sir," Musa smiled. "That's what we call family here." "I'm not," he began, but Musa had already placed the tray down, eggs akara, hot bread, and tea. Madam Adna said, "You should eat well. She visit after the baby's wake." When Musa left, Ina stared at the food. Then he cried, quiet, shaking sobs. It had been years since anyone served him a meal. Later that day, Adana walked in slowly, holding one of the babies. She smiled at him, glowing with fatigue and grace. "Good morning, my son." Ina sat up straighter. "Good morning, ma, I mean madam." She laughed. "Please, call me mummy, or at least Adana." He hesitated. "Mummy," she nodded. "You saved us, your family now." He blinked back new tears. "You don't have to be perfect here," she said. "You just have to be honest." He nodded. "I'll try." And he meant it. For the first time in his life, he felt seen. Not as the orphan begging for scraps, not as a street hawker, but as someone valuable. He spent the next days learning how to exist in a home. He learned where the switches were, that the fridge was always stocked, that the showers had hot water, that people said good morning because they meant it. Jonathan didn't talk much, but when he did, it was with intention. At dinner one night, he looked at Ina and said, "We're starting paperwork." Ina paused mid-bite. "Paperwork? Adoption?" Ina put the spoon down. I don't deserve this." Jonathan shook his head. "You don't have to earn family, you just are." Adana reached across the table, touched his hand. "Your mother would be proud." He looked at her. "You think so?" "I know so." But not everyone agreed. It was a Tuesday when the past came knocking. Musa appeared at the door of the living room. "There's a woman at the gate, says she's your aunt." Ina froze. The word aunt hit like a rock to the chest. He hadn't heard that word in 2 years. Adana stood, sensing the change in him. "Ina," he swallowed. "She told me to go live in the streets, said I was cursed." Jonathan nodded toward security. "Let her in, but with respect." The doors opened minutes later. A dark-skinned woman in a faded wrapper walked in, eyes wide at the marble floor and golden light fixtures. She clutched a giant black handbag to her chest and dropped fake tears on command. "Ina," she cried. "My son, my blood." He didn't move. "I've been looking for you. I nearly fainted when I saw you on that blog. God is good." "You're not my mother," Ina said flatly. She chuckled nervously. "Don't say that. I didn't have much back then, but blood is blood. Come, hug me." Adana's voice cut in, calm, cold. "That's close enough." The woman turned to her. "Good afternoon, ma. I mean no harm. I'm just here for my boy." Jonathan stood. "Where were you when he had nothing?" I was struggling too. Sir, life was hard." Ina stood slowly. His voice was clear. "Do you remember the day I came to your house, barefoot, with wounds on my legs? You told me I was a curse." She swallowed hard. "Ina, please. I cried outside your door all night. You left me there. I didn't mean to. You meant every word, but I forgive you." Silence. Jonathan nodded to security. "Please escort her out." Gently, but firmly, she wailed as they led her away. Her cries echoed down the hallway, but Ina stood still. "I don't want revenge," he said. "I just want peace." Adana walked to him, placed a hand on his back. "You have it. You've earned it." And when he looked into her eyes, he knew he wasn't surviving anymore. He was finally beginning to live. The gate had barely closed behind her, but Ina still felt her presences, Ant's voice echoing in the corridors of his chest like a door left open in a storm. He sat on the edge of the grand staircase, fists clenched, staring at the floor. His breath came uneven, as though the air was thicker now. Adana sat beside him in silence. She didn't say anything for a long time. She didn't need to. "She said I was a curse," Ina murmured. "When my parents died, she took me in for 2 weeks. Then one day, she poured my plate of food into the trash and said, 'Go join the street boys. You belong there.'" Adana's fingers reached for his. Gently, he didn't flinch this time. "I slept behind market stalls," he continued. "A rat bit me once. I begged for leftover, moi. I stole soap just to wash once a week. Jonathan stood nearby, arms folded across his chest. That ends now. Ina looked up, uncertain. You're not going back to any of that, Jonathan said. This is your home now. Ina wanted to believe it, needed to, but something inside him still whispered that all this might vanish. That night, Adana tucked Ellie into his arms. The baby squealed in delight, waving tiny fingers in his face. Eleliana reached for his chin and laughed. Looks like you've been claimed, Adana teased softly. Ina smiled for the first time that day. School started the following Monday. Royal Prestige High School. The name alone sounded expensive. The first morning, Ina stood in front of the mirror wearing his brand new uniform. Crisp white shirt, navy trousers, black leather shoes. A fresh backpack waited by the door. Jonathan's assistant drove him to school in a black SUV. Students stared as he stepped out. Isn't that the boy they adopted? He used to hawk in the market. He probably can't even speak English properly. Ina kept his eyes forward, walked calmly past the whispers. His first week was rough. A boy named Victor deliberately knocked his books out of his hand in the hallway. Oops, he said, smiling without apology. Others laughed. Teachers didn't intervene. Not yet. But Ina didn't react. He picked up his books and kept walking. Instead of fighting, he studied. Instead of hiding, he observed. He sat in front, took notes meticulously, and stayed back after class to ask questions. In 1 month, he aced every quiz: maths, chemistry, English. His essays earned top scores. Even the strictest teacher, Mrs. Adebayo, wrote a small brilliant on the corner of his test. By the second month, things shifted. Victor stopped laughing. The same students who mocked him began whispering for a different reason. Hey, can I borrow your notes? Wait, how did you get that answer? Are you free to tutor? One day during recess, the school principal called him in. You're already top of your class, she said. Would you be willing to represent us in the Lagos Inter-School Science Competition? Ina nodded slowly. Yes, ma. When he got home, Adana was waiting. She held up a file folder and tapped it with her finger. We've started the legal process. Soon, you'll be officially ours. He sat down, stunned. But I already feel like yours. She smiled. Then this is just paperwork. Later that night, after dinner, Jonathan motioned for him to come out to the balcony. They stood side by side, city lights stretching out in the distance. What's your dream, Obina? Jonathan asked. Ina was quiet for a while. Then, I want to be a doctor. Jonathan turned to him. Why? Because he looked down. The day of the accident, when I poured water into Mummy's mouth, I thought she would die. I felt so helpless. I want to be able to help with more than just hope. Jonathan nodded slowly. Then medicine it is. You really think I can? Jonathan's voice didn't waver. I know you can. Weeks passed. Ina grew into the rhythm of his new life. Mornings were spent at school, evenings with the twins. He rocked them to sleep, read them stories, laughed when they pulled his ears, or tried to eat his collar buttons. Their presence calmed him in ways he couldn't explain. Daddy, Ina, Ellie once babbled, and the room erupted in laughter. Big brother, Adana corrected, still smiling. Some nights, he still woke up in a sweat, half dreaming that he was back in the market, barefoot, being chased by a vendor. But then he'd hear the faint whir of the air conditioner, feel the softness of his bed, and remember he was safe now, until the day he wasn't sure again. It happened after a student leadership seminar in Victoria Island. Ina had spoken briefly to a group of juniors about resilience and education. The moment was small, but he felt proud as he stepped off the stage. A man approached backstage. Plain clothes, grey shirt, clean-shaven. Something about him felt familiar. Obina, the man asked, cautiously. Ina narrowed his eyes. Yes, I. The man swallowed. My name is Kabir. The name clicked like a gunshot in his brain. Kabiru. The taxi driver. The man who had crashed into Adana's SUV. The reason the accident happened at all. Ina's breath stopped. You, he whispered. Kabiru. Looked down. I'm the one. I was the driver. That day. Security moved closer, but Ina raised a hand. I shouldn't be here, Kabiru said quickly. But I've been following your story. I saw you on the news. I needed to see you, to say something. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a brown envelope. This is a letter I've carried with me for 2 years. I didn't know where to send it. I wrote it after the crash. After I ran. You ran, Ina echoed. Kabiru nodded. I panicked. I had no papers, no license. I was just trying to feed my family. I didn't even know she was pregnant. I was scared, and I was wrong. Ina stared at him, jaw tight. I've thought about that day every single night, Kabiru said. I know I nearly ended everything, but you didn't let her die. Silence. Then Ina spoke. Why now? Because seeing you, it reminded me that even when you make the worst mistake, someone else's goodness can rewrite the story. Kabiru held the letter out, hands shaken. Ina didn't take it. Not yet. I forgave you, he said quietly. The moment I chose to help her, I had to let go of hate. Kabiru blinked. You? What? I didn't help her to punish you. I helped her because it was the right thing. Kabiru dropped to his knees. God bless you, Ina. God bless you forever. Security rushed forward, but Ina stopped them. Again, he looked at the man not as a villain, but as someone broken. He finally reached out and took the letter. Live better, he said. Kabir. You nodded, eyes full of tears. Then another voice broke in. Jonathan had been watching from a few steps away. Mr. Kabiru, he said, we run a logistics academy. If you're serious, we'll help you get a license. Get certified. Start over. Kabiru bowed low. I am, sir. I will. That night, Ina sat at his desk reading the letter. It was messy. Words crossed out. Spelling errors. But it was honest. And when he folded it back and slid it into the drawer, he felt something loosen inside him. A weight he hadn't realized he was still carrying. He walked down the hall quietly. The twins were asleep, arms sprawled over their pillows. Adena sat in the nursery, watching them. He came back, Ina said softly. Adena didn't ask who, she just nodded. What did you say? That I forgave him. She smiled. Then, you're freer than most people ever get to be. Ina leaned against the doorframe, exhaling. He wasn't just living in a new home anymore. He was growing new roots, and the scars they'd always be there, but now they had space to heal. Kept his head bowed as he walked out of the auditorium that day, clutching the envelope tighter than ever. The security detail stayed close, but gave him room. Ina remained still, watching the man disappear into the crowd. Something in his chest tightened, then slowly began to ease. Adena was waiting outside the venue with the twins in her arms. She saw the look on Ina's face even before he said a word. You saw him, she said gently. He nodded. I did, and he apologized, told me everything. He wrote a letter. Adena studied him. And what did you do? I forgave him. Her eyes welled up, not from pain, but from pride. That's not easy. It was, he said. Harder not to. That evening, at home, Jonathan sat with Ina in the study, just the two of them, surrounded by shelves of heavy books, dark wood, and quiet resolve. You forgave the man who nearly killed your mother, Jonathan said. She wasn't my mother then. She was, Jonathan replied. You just didn't know yet. Ina sat back. I think, if I held on to that hate, I wouldn't have had space for all this. Jonathan smiled faintly. Well, because you made room, I'm going to do the same. I'm pulling Kabiru into our driver training program. We'll certify him, get him proper documentation, maybe even a stable job, but only if he proves himself. Ina nodded. He will. He's ready. Jonathan leaned forward. You're becoming more of a man than most people twice your age. Ina didn't respond, but he felt it, something shifting inside, something becoming whole. By the end of the academic year, Ina had finished high school as the top student in all of Lagos State. Royal Prestige High held a small ceremony in the school auditorium. Students cheered, teachers cried. Adena and Jonathan sat in the front row, beaming. The twins clapped enthusiastically, even though they barely understood what was happening. Ina stepped up to the podium with his certificate in one hand, his other pressed lightly against his heart. I started school with one shirt and no friends, he said. Now, I'm leaving with a future. The applause was thunderous. He was accepted into the University of Ibadan to study medicine and surgery. It was his dream, and now it had a name, a timeline, and a purpose. Before leaving for university, he had one request. I want to give something back, he told Adena, and Jonathan. Adan raised an eyebrow. You're already giving us pride every day. No, he said. I want to do more, for the kids who are still out there like I was. Jonathan leaned forward. What do you have in mind? A mobile clinic, Ina said, and a scholarship fund. We'll call it the Inner Kindness Initiative. Street kids, orphans, anyone who can't afford to get sick. Jonathan smiled slowly. We'll fund it. No, Ina said. I want to start it. I want to work for it. I want it to grow because people believe in what it stands for. Adana's voice was soft. Then we'll match every naira you raise. At night, they toasted with pineapple juice and laughter. The clinic launched 3 months later, painted white with green lettering and the Kindness Initiative logo on the side. It rolled into Oshodi with full medical staff, basic supplies, and Ina himself now, a first-year med student in a white coat, stethoscope round his neck. Vendors stopped what they were doing. Children ran up barefoot, eyes wide. Some recognized him, others didn't. It didn't matter. He knelt in front of a little boy in torn clothes. What's your name? Ibrahim. You. Feeling okay? I cough at night. Mama says it's because of the dust. Ina examined him gently. We'll fix that. You're going to be all right. As he gave the boy free medication and instructions to his mother, someone tapped his shoulder. It was Musa, the longtime butler. I never said it, Musa murmured. But I'm proud of you. We all are. Ina smiled. Thank you, uncle. Back at university, Ina focused hard. Anatomy, pharmacology, biochemistry. He devoured textbooks like novels and turned lecture halls into playgrounds of curiosity. Professors began to notice. This boy, one of them said, will be the future of Nigerian medicine. But he didn't let it go to his head. After lectures, he volunteered at clinics. During breaks, he returned to Oshodi with the mobile van. Each visit added new names to the initiatives list. New families, new children. The press took notice. Orphan to healer. Ina's kindness, changing Lagos. The boy who gave water, now he gives life. He was invited to panels, interviews, awards shows, but he never stopped answering phone calls from the clinic. Never missed a visit to Ellie and Ella. Never left a message from Adana unread. One evening, while reviewing lab results at the clinic, he looked out the window and saw Kabiru standing near the door in a faded grey uniform, this time with a certified driver's badge pinned proudly to his chest. They locked eyes. Kabiru raised his hand in a small wave. Ina walked outside. Driving again? He asked. Kabir. You nodded. Clean record. 3-star rating. No more shortcuts. You look well. I am, Kabiru said, because you forgave me, and because your family gave me a second chance. You earned it, Ina said. They stood in silence for a moment. Two men who once collided through fate, now bound by it. Kabir. You pointed at the clinic van. This. You built this. With help. I brought my daughter, Kabiru said. She's sick. Can you see her? Ina's face softened. Of course. Bring her in. He watched Kabiru walk to the car, carefully lift a small girl from the back seat, and carry her toward the entrance. For Ina, that was the full circle. Pain, mistake, forgiveness, redemption. All of it, right there in front of him. When he returned to the mansion during semester break, Ellie and Liana ran down the hallway to greet him. Dr. Ina, Dr. Ina, they screamed, their voices high and bright. Adana stepped into the foyer, smiling. Your little fans missed you. They're the only ones I ever want to impress, he said, scooping one up in each arm. Later that night, the whole family sat around the dinner table. Jonathan raised a glass. To the boy who once gave water to a stranger, who now gives life to hundreds. To family, Adana added. To purpose, Ina whispered, and they all clinked glasses. But inside his heart, Ina felt something more. Not victory, not success, but the weight of a promise, that as long as he could breathe, he would keep choosing kindness. The hall was silent, expectant. 1,000-seat silent. Light pooled across the golden walls of the Abuja National Convention Center. Flags fluttered outside. Inside, the air was filled with breath, held in awe. On the stage stood a man in a tailored black suit, steady as steel, soft as flame. Dr. Obina E. He gripped the podium lightly, eyes moving across a sea of faces. Young leaders, international guests, government officials, medical professionals. Some leaned forward, others blinked away emotion. Somewhere in the front row, Adana dabbed her eyes discreetly. Jonathan sat beside her, arms crossed, proud but composed. Ina took a slow breath, then spoke. Years ago, he began, I was invisible. Whispers stilled. Phones stopped recording for a second as people looked up from their screens. To listen, really listen. I slept behind fruit stalls in the Oshodi market. I hawked bottled water. I was 15 years old and on my own. I had no plan, no hope, no name anyone cared to remember. Then one day, I heard a scream. He paused. I ran toward it. His voice deepened, not louder, but clearer. There was a woman lying on the road, pregnant, bleeding, unconscious, and everyone stood still. Some watched, some warned me to stay away. But I remembered something. My mother once told me, never turn your back on someone in need, even if everyone else does. Adana bowed her head. I gave her water. I made a phone call. I didn't know who she was. I didn't do it for attention or reward. I just helped Dot, and that one choice. It changed everything. There was a breathless stillness now. I later found out that woman was the wife of one of Nigeria's most powerful businessmen. She nearly died, but she survived, gave birth to twins, and then she and her husband invited me into their home, gave me their name, their trust, their love. They called me son. He looked at Adana. Now, she smiled through tears, nodding once. Today, I stand here as a doctor, founder of the Inner Kindness Initiative, and I say this with no pride, just purpose. My life changed not when someone saved me, but when I chose to save someone else. Thunderous applause erupted, but Ina lifted his hand gently. Silence returned. If you ever have the chance to help someone, even if no one is watching, even if they can't repay you, do it. That moment may not make the news, but it may shape your destiny. He stepped away from the podium. Every person in the room stood to their feet and clapped, not politely, wildly, for minutes. The roar echoed down the halls and out into the streets of Abuja. That night, back at the E family mansion, Ina sat in his favorite spot on the balcony. The city lights of Lagos flickered like distant stars. A warm breeze lifted the white curtains. Adana stepped out, holding a cup of tea. She sat beside him, sighing. You were brilliant today. I just told the truth. Sometimes, she said, truth is more powerful than any invention. They sipped in silence for a while. Then Adana turned to him. Do you remember the first time you called me mummy? Ina chuckled. You were holding Ellie. I was still wearing oversized pajamas. She smiled. I've never forgotten it. A quiet moment passed between them. Do you ever wonder why it was you on that road that day? She asked. Sometimes, he said, but mostly, I think, maybe God was watching. Maybe my mother in heaven whispered, now, son. She reached out and held his hand. She'd be proud. I hope I've made her proud, he said softly. And I'll keep trying. Inside the house, laughter echoed down the hallway. Tell us again, Ellie shouted, bouncing onto the couch. Liana followed, dragging her pink blanket behind her again. She cried, how did you find Mummy? Ina grinned, sitting down between them. He pulled both girls into his lap. Well, he said, once upon a time, I was just a boy with a bottle of water and a decision to make. The girls leaned in, and I saw a woman lying on the road, and I heard a voice in my heart say, help her. Ellie's eyes sparkled. You were scared, terrified, he said, but I helped anyway. And then, Liana asked wide-eyed, and then, everything changed. They giggled, curling up against his chest. Adana watched from the doorway, tears in her eyes and a fullness in her chest no words could describe. Ina kissed each girl on the forehead. No, he whispered. You were born the day my life really started. Are we the beginning? Ellie asked. No, Ina said. You're the light. He pulled them closer. And this family, this home, this legacy. He looked toward the open sky. It all began with one choice.